see you guys.
Very kind of traffic time, man. 309 Delta Alpha, turn to the left base for runway 5.
Good evening and welcome to the official C1 Thalassa talk show, Thalask About It, where we talk all things analog. Today is now Sol 7 of the 10-day C1 Thalassa mission. I'm your Public Affairs Director and host, Joven Christopher Garcia, or Joey. And today we will have 2 interviews with wonderful flight controllers, a recap of Sol 6 activities, downlink crew footage, and a Q&A where you can submit questions for us to answer. And feel free at any time, leave any questions in the comments section about anything, and we will make sure to answer any of your questions. Today, I am here with Niharika Baretti. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Joey. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your background. So you're the head of astronauts team here at Southeast Analog.
Yeah, so I actually just graduated from Georgia Tech with my master's in electrical engineering and a master's in aerospace engineering. So this past year, I was asked by Vic, our founder and president, to be the head of astronaut training and selection. She approached me because I had also done an analog mission like her. I was the commander of my mission in Poland with the Analog Astronaut Training Center there. And so I had that experience and I really enjoyed it. And Vic decided to ask me to be on the leadership for this year as the head of astronaut selection and training. So my job as that lead has been to create the selection process for our astronauts. So I did a lot of research into how NASA selects their astronauts, ESA, JAXA, some of the traits that we look for in them, both physically, mentally, cognitively. We designed a whole interview and application and selection process. And then we had our finalists come in for a selection weekend where me and the rest of the leadership gave them physical assessments, cognitive assessments, mental assessments, just really anything that could help us narrow down our crew. And so from that, we had our 6-person crew selected. They're an amazing bunch. They are so incredibly bright. They have such a diverse background and a lot of character and an incredible first crew for our organization. And so then after that, it became training. So all throughout the spring semester and into the summer, right up until our mission started last week, we had them training in a bunch of different disciplines. So we had aerial training. We had them learn how to fly in simulated cockpits, as well as going up in Cessnas with some of our pilots in our club, and learning how to maneuver and actually operate a plane up there in real life. We had aquatic training, both like a swim test, which Joey also helped out with. He's also one of the medical and psych trainers for C. And so he helped out with administering the swim training. We had them do scuba, discover scuba dive. So they learn about all of the equipment and stuff that comes with scuba diving as well. They did extreme environments training. We had them hike part of the Appalachian Trail, actually, which was really, really cool to see. We have a lot of media about that if you want to check it out on our website, as well as medical and psych training. So learning how to, everything from taking blood pressure to taking pulse ox readings, pulses, things like that, and learning how to recognize medical or psychological problems and then how to troubleshoot and address those things. Because this mission is definitely a strain, both physically and just mentally, and so we wanted to make sure that they were as prepped as possible. So yeah, it's a lot of work and a lot of stuff going into this. And yeah, now I'm also a mission controller. I'm the CTO, so the Chief Training Officer. I'm in charge of the crew safety. I have the only real-time feeds while everyone else gets the 20-minute Mars delay simulated feeds. And I'm just, me and the other 2 CTOs are like a lifeline to the crew. If there's any emergencies or anything that they need to troubleshoot in real time, I'm there to help them with that. And just make sure that the crew is safe and sound as they do their experiments and live in the habitat. So
It's been like really like all of the things you've done. You've done like so much, like through this whole thing, like you just explaining and laying like out everything that you did. Like, I mean, could you have pictured yourself doing this like all the way back when Vic first asked you, like, how did you feel when she first asked you to be part of something like this?
I mean, honestly, I was really honored, and I found like I had only done one mission, and it was really something that I found online, and it was like it was an incredible experience, but it was also something that I recognize not a lot of students would have the ability to do. Like just cost alone is something like I did have to pay for my travel all the way to Poland and back, and pay for the mission and things like that, which is understandable. And obviously, around the world, there are opportunities like that. But it is that, among other things, is a barrier to a lot of students. And so, her idea of making something like this as like low cost and as accessible to students as possible was something that I was really honored to be asked to be a part of. Because it was such a cool experience for me, and it really helped continue solidify like my passion for space exploration and this industry. And I think that if we can do that for more people, especially more students, and just bring them in and keep them in this industry and have them have the encouragement to give to them, so that they aren't discouraged and leave this industry. I think that's the mission of this organization is really incredible, and I am so glad that I was able to be a part of it.
It was definitely, it's so nice that so many things happen in this organization, and there's so many disciplines that can come in. You know, even for me, like I am a pre-med student, I never really saw myself as like really being able to get into these aerospace fields. But to be able to see like an organization like this expose so many different disciplines and different backgrounds, you know, it's very exciting to see. And it's interesting to me too, because I've saw multiple other people also pre-meds here actually.
Yeah, I mean, space is a human endeavor, and in like every aspect. So obviously you do need the scientists, the biologists, the chemists, the physicists to generate the science and the need for exploration. You need the engineers to build everything. But medicine, human factor is the biggest thing when we go out into space, right? And so we need to have a lot more research into medicine and how humans are affected by that in space. We need artists, we need like communications people. It really is a like world effort across every single discipline that I can think of that has some application in space. And it's really awesome seeing, like, I've met so many people here in this org with a bunch of like various incredible backgrounds. Even the like setup for this like talk show and for being like public affairs officers, like you guys are not, you may not have necessarily the background, but you've learned so much about how to do things like this. Honestly, I don't think I or anyone else had really thought about it beforehand. Just the different disciplines and the amount of work that goes into something like this. So yeah, it's a cool way to meet people from different disciplines, outside of STEM especially. So.
Yeah. And even with like all the different things, it's so cool how we're all like trying to contribute to this goal of like aerospace, making it accessible and all of these different things. For you personally, have you always considered like going into aerospace career since you were young?
Oh yeah, I have been one of those kids who's always wanted to be an astronaut, and I think I've been pretty consistent in being like having that as my goal so far. And it's really nice meeting a bunch of like-minded people, because it's cute when you're a kid to say you want to be an astronaut, and the like older you grow, a lot of people are like, you should kind of be realistic. Like, it's a very like difficult field to get into, but that isn't an issue here, and it's really everyone encouraging everyone else to stay in this field and like be an astronaut, work at NASA, do all these sort of things. I've definitely been like that since I was a kid. I can't really pinpoint when it started, but it's just been something that's been part of my life for a while. A lot of people ask me like, what do you what are your interests like outside of space? And I kind of have to like, I'm like buffering a little bit because I really, like I swear I have other interests, but like really it's such a big part of my life that it takes me a minute to like figure out what it is. And even still, if I do have any interest in outside of space, there's some like space or like science or STEM tie-in. So it's just such a big part of my life. And I'm so glad that I keep meeting people that help me encourage, like everyone in this org, like being so encouraging about me, like not just me encouraging the younger students, but also them encouraging me and like seeing me as a mentor, me being able to just share my knowledge, but also learn from everybody in this org. Like I've learned so much from people in this org, and it's really helped continue like maintaining that passion in me about staying in this industry in aerospace. So.
Yeah, I really love how you also like talk about, you know, like the people in the room, because I definitely agree with that. Like all the people who came from different places coming here, and for something that's like aerospace, it's like completely out there. Like you talk to a lot of people, they're like, whoa, like NASA, like space, like that's kind of like, can you do that? Like,
Yeah.
it's like that type of thing. But seeing all of these people who are just like, you know what, I don't care what people think. I'm going to go there. I'm going to, you know, try and see what happens, right? And I feel like here at Southeast Analog, we kind of have a room full of those type of people.
Yeah, it's very important to keep that curiosity alive, and in any aspect, not just aerospace, but obviously in this context, everyone here is a big, like huge aerospace nerd, whether it's the engineering aspect or the science or just like the like amazing like vastness of it all and like the unknown, and everyone here is just curious, and it's really important to maintain that curiosity, especially as you get older, and like life does get more difficult, you know, like going from high school to college to grad school and even further. Like it really is, there's a lot more that happens, and it's really important to take some time and like make sure you're maintaining that curiosity, that like willingness to learn, and that desire to just keep growing and learning more. That really is the core, I think, of any organization like this, but especially something run by students, where that we were all full-time students when we started doing this in August. So like on top of our schoolwork, we were all like dedicating hours and hours and hours of our free time to like do trainings, run trainings, plan things, write procedures, all this stuff. And really the driving force of that is like our passion and curiosity for this sort of thing. And like everyone is so excited about this mission. All the controllers are dedicating all of their time to like be here for shifts, and the crew and the habitat is having a great time doing their experiments and having fun as well. And so, yeah, it's really great to see this many people from all over. Like you came from Florida, like some people came from California, all over just to come and be a part of this and promote this message. So.
Yeah, I wanted to also like segue that into like the crew selection processes that we went through.
Yeah.
Because our crew, they're like really, really diverse. I mean, you have like two of them from Georgia Tech here, but you have them from all over the place in different fields, even like medicine, PhD, different stuff like that. What was the thought and process of like how you're going to be picking these individuals?
Yeah, so the roles themselves, like the title and responsibilities of each role, were obviously a significant factor in who we selected, and who we were like looking to put in each role. So there are six crew members, but 5 roles. The crew commander, who is in charge of, you know, the leader of the crew and the mission, and makes like all the final decisions. The crew comms officer, who is the one who communicates with Capcom. So usually you would hear them on the live stream if you've heard the voice. It's usually them talking to the crew, and to Capcom, relaying messages from the crew, and then taking messages from MCC via Capcom and like packaging everything into something like efficient and neat to like communicate clearly. The crew medical officer is obviously in charge of making sure that the crew stays healthy in the habitat while they're doing all the research. The crew scientist is the one who sort of manages the documentation of all the research. And then we have 2 crew engineers who are in charge of maintaining the system the habitat systems, as well as sort of like basically being the like mechanics and like if anything is if there's something wrong in the habitat or something with any of the equipment that they need to use for their research, they are the ones who are familiarized with that and can troubleshoot and fix them. So obviously based on those roles, when we got all the way down to selection, we had about 40 applicants initially.
Oh, wow.
Which was a lot, and we managed to narrow it down to 6. So we went through one round of interview and narrowed them down, and then we went through one more round of interview, narrowed them down to 10, and then we had 10 people for our selection weekend. And during that selection weekend, we had them we were kind of watching how they interacted, and we split them up into teams. We had activities for them to do, and all these sort of things that were physical assessments, right? Cognitive, sort of brain tests, communication, tests, kind of playing a game of telephone, things like that. There are a lot of things that were sort of innocuous to the general eye, but we designed those tests specifically to test certain things, like the way that they communicate, the way that they react to stress, the way that they react to a problem that they need to solve really quickly, and based on that, we were able to observe their interactions with each other, and see who would take more of a commanding presence, or who would be commander in the way that they would listen to everyone and then sort of try to gently steer, the conversation or the solution or the actions that the crew does. Medical wise, people who are familiar with medicine, our crew medical officer is a current med student, and he used to be in the Air Force as a medic, so he has extensive medical training, and we were we definitely should have him as our medical officer, and he's been doing great. Our crew scientist is a PhD astrophysics student, so she is very well versed in research tactics and documentation, and so she's well versed in that. Our 2 engineers, we have one from Georgia Tech, an aerospace engineer, and then an MIT aerospace engineer. So they are both very, very, very adept at technical aspects and being hands-on and fixing things, which we saw during selection weekend. And our crew comms officer is also an aerospace engineer, but she's the youngest crew member, actually. And she was a very calm and collected person during selection weekend and able to take things in stride, and also clearly communicate things and tell us what's going on. And then our commander, who is a PhD student from Rice, actually, she was more of a gentle, commanding presence, able to sort of steer the crew and make decisions, but also make time to learn and listen to the rest of her crew. And so we really did a lot with that selection process. It was a lot of intense. We had so many debates. I did have the final say, but I made sure to take input from everyone else who was administering things for selection weekend, which was the rest of the heads. And so it was a lot. We put a lot of thought into this. I think we really came out with an incredible crew. So yeah.
Yeah. And the crew, they work together really, really well, and it's really, really exciting to see all the videos that get sent back to mission control and see them having a good time with each other. But you can imagine in that small habitat they have to deal with every single day, for 10 days, they don't have so much access to the usual things that they have. You can imagine it's kind of difficult, right? And I bet that's where a lot of the trainings that we had for them kind of come in.
Yeah, so I mean, most of the trainings, they did do scuba, right? They were able to, and then they were able to fly in a plane. Obviously, they're not doing those things in the habitat, but the sort of less technical aspects of the trainings that we had them do were testing them physically and cognitively. When you're flying a plane, you have to be very aware of everything around you. You have to be able to make quick decisions, see something and react very quickly. When you're underwater, obviously you need to maintain your cool. You need to keep calm because you need to make sure that you're breathing, as well as doing things underwater. And there's that physical limiting factor. And it's also very taxing on the body to be swimming or scuba diving because of all the equipment that you've got. Hiking, they hiked the Appalachian Trail, part of it, and part of it was done in night too. So it was a physical strain, physical assessment. We wanted to make sure they were physically ready for this as well, because they do 2 hours of exercise every day in this mission, but then also communication, right? And making sure that everyone is okay, If something happens, making sure that the crew can lean on each other. And a very big part of that was like camaraderie and teamwork, especially when you're doing something like that. So like the trainings are fun and they seem really cool, but they do actually have real applications in the mission itself. So.
Yeah, so you were like the head of the astronauts, and I was actually like under your team as medical psychological trainer. And I remember me and Soha Ali, we were doing like multiple workshops. I think we had like about like 5 full workshops where we just went over everything from like cognitive behavioral techniques to taking heart rate and all of these things. That it was like really, really nice to see the crew learning from all of these things, and they really appreciated all the training too, right? And so there was that virtual aspect of the workshops, but then we had all the in-person, right? So that aquatics, the hiking, all of those. Out of those that you like physically were in, like the aquatics or hiking, what was your favorite?
I want to say I think the Discovery Scuba Dive was the coolest because
That sounds cool.
they were so shout out to Georgia Tech scuba program. They were so happy to help us out with this. They had the crew. We just had them in one of the like shallower ends of the pool, but they taught them everything from how the BCD works and the regulators and how to put everything on, and then having them like actually swim. And we got a lot of really good footage of them doing things. I think they were playing like cards underwater at some point. It was really funny. They were having a blast with it, and they looked so excited being able to like swim and do scuba diving, and a lot of them hadn't done it at all. So it was really, really incredible. I thought that was the coolest, and I was watching them be so excited that weekend, and they were like exhausted after the end because they also did the swim test before, but they were like, this was so worth it, and this was an incredible experience as well. And so I'm glad that we got that chance to give them that, and hopefully we can continue to keep having that partnership with Georgia Tech Scuba for years to come. So.
Yeah, and I'm really like glad like this is the founding year, right? And now I feel like initially there's been like a lot of like, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? But especially for next upcoming years, they can kind of look on the trainings that we've done this year and really build from it instead of building it from scratch.
Yeah, I think we had a good baseline. There's a lot of things that I didn't get to have for like timing, whatever reasons. But we've had a lot of ideas and we've got a lot more coming up. So I will be stepping down after this mission is over. But my successor has all of the information from this year, and the next year's leadership I am very confident that they are going to make it even better next year. And so I can't wait to see them do that. Yeah.
So now that like, we talk about the selection, we talk about training, but then past that, so now you're here in Mission Control, you're CTO. What does it really mean to be CTO too?
So being CTO, me and there are 2 other CTOs for the 3 different shifts that we have, and it's really, I would say it's probably one of the most important roles in Mission Control, if not the most, more than flight even, because we are the people that are in charge of the crew's safety and making sure that they are at the very most, the highest priority of our mission is to make sure that the crew is safe. And they are all the way in Arkansas in a missile silo underground. So there is a concerning aspect to that, but we have ensured that they can be as safe as possible. We have real-time feeds, real-time like voice loop connection with just the crew, and it's staffed around the clock, even during night when they're asleep, so that someone can be there. And as head of astronauts, as well as the like main CTO or the CTO that's been there for like the morning shifts when they're doing the first 8 hours of their day, I take that responsibility very seriously, and I have been making sure that I am always alert, listening to them, watching them on the feeds and making sure that everything's okay. If they, need a camera feed to be cut or something for the live stream, things like that, just making sure that their safety and their privacy is very well respected, to make sure that they are able to execute their research and their mission tasks with the full knowledge that there's someone watching their backs in real time all the way over here. So that's a very important role, and I was chosen to be it. Actually, I didn't sign up to be it, but I was chosen to be in that role, and I'm glad that I was, and I am glad that the crew has trusted me to with their safety like that. So.
Yeah, it's really important because there's so many different aspects that we cannot anticipate sometimes. So having someone really be in charge of the crew and, be in charge of their safety is extremely important for this mission. 5 years ago, like before today, could you have imagined yourself in a position like this?
No, I would definitely not. I mean, 5 years ago, I was in undergrad. I want to say sophomore year. I'm aging myself, um, but I wouldn't. I still had that passion for space, but I had never learned about anything like this. I had known nothing about analog missions. I had known nothing that like this ever existed, even in like a professional like MDRS or like any of these other ones in the U.S. or abroad. I had known nothing about it. And so definitely 5 years ago, I would not have expected myself to be here. But that's the nice thing is that life is always unexpected. And I think that this is in one of the good unexpected things to come out of my college career so far. So yeah.
It's definitely been like an experience since day one of everything.
Definitely unforgettable. I don't think I'm hoping to like watch from afar as C grows, and so it's definitely something that I won't be forgetting, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
If you had like opportunity looking back, would you change anything about your experience?
With C or just in
Yeah,
general?
with C.
Not really. I mean, I think there were some, like growing pains. Again, this is the first year of this organization, and we have done incredible work. Obviously, there are some things that we maybe want to do differently a little bit, but for the most part, I think we did the best that we could with what we have. And it really is like, I wouldn't change it because obviously we wouldn't have either this amazing like MCC, like flight controller team, or this entire like crew. So I think that, throughout the ups and downs, it still worked out, I think, the best that it could. So I don't think I would change anything about this experience yet.
Would you like to have any more like last things you want to say to the audience or anybody watching?
If you're a college student and you would like to have the opportunity to be put in a mission in a closed space for 10 days with some friends, I should highly recommend that you apply to be an astronaut next year or the following years. We will release more information about like the eligibility and stuff. I think we might have already. But just, stay tuned on our socials. And if you are not a college student, but you still think this is a cool opportunity, we have a bunch of different ways that you can support our organization, even just through like promoting us on socials and like word of mouth. And it's a really cool thing to be involved in. You can be a crew member, you can be a flight controller, you could be a trainer, actually, like Joey. You can help train the astronauts if you have some experience in anything like that, and you want to join us. Please sign up. We have a lot of cool information stuff coming up after this mission's over. But yeah, please stay involved and stay curious. And we love space. We love space.
We
Outer
love
space
space.
here. Bunch of space nerds. And oh yeah, I almost forgot, guys. Go Thalassa. Go
Thalassa!
Woo!
Woo! Thank you for having this interview with me
Yeah,
today.
thank you for having me. It was really fun. I didn't think I was going to be interviewed, but this is really cool. And I might have to get back to my job as CTO. Got to keep the crew safe.
Yes.
But yeah, so thank you so much, Joey. This was really,
Thank
really
you.
fun. And I will see you back out there
I'll
in
see you
Mission
back
Control.
in Mission Control. Oh, and then so you can go out
Okay.
now. And then before we're going to be having our next guest, I'm going to give a little bit of a recap with Soul 2, sorry, with Soul 6. So with Soul 6 complete, we are now more than halfway past the end of the analog. So this means yesterday also marked the day that it was Sophie Karako's first full day as commander after the commander change. Yesterday was also the final scheduled Yellow Jacket EVA, which initially did have some problems with the suits, but had some fixing. So we're really, really excited to see like what footage gets back to us, and yeah, learn more about like all of those things that they're going to be doing over there. Also, we have our flight surgeon on hand, has been tracking and maintaining the crew health, working extensively with our crew medical officer, Emilio Larrazabal, for meals and exercise. It's really, really important. They have exercise every day, and it's to ensure that we maintain the crew health while they are there in the analog. All right, let's see if my next guest is here. Hello. Yes, my next guest on today is Carolyn Conrad.
Oh, nice to see you, Joey.
Yeah, nice to see you too. How are you today?
Good, it's a lovely day.
Yeah, so how have you been enjoying the mission so far in Atlanta?
I have, it's been really wonderful. Granted, Atlanta is very humid right now.
It's
But
very
other than
humid.
that, other than a very hot and sweaty walk there and back from where I'm staying, Atlanta's
Yeah.
been wonderful so far. I was at the Coke Museum this morning. It was a good time.
Hey, it's cooler than Florida, right?
At the very least. At the very least, yes. What do you want
Yeah.
to speak with me today about, Joey?
Yeah, so first, like, I wanted to ask, like, what's your position in C? Like,
Yeah, okay, so I wear a lot of hats when it comes to C. I do a bunch of different stuff. I think the biggest one right now is I'm the incoming head of research. I've been working on the research team. At the moment, of course, I'm a flight controller. I'm on the ECOM console or the EECOM console, depending on how you
EECOM.
pronounce it. Up to you how you pronounce it. I'm on the EECOM console or just the ECOM console. And that's been really fun. Other than that, I've been kind of having contact with a couple of other teams in my free time, a little bit of MCC here and there. Most flight controllers are involved with at least one team, if not multiple, so I get a little bit of that too.
So, like you said that, so I know that you were involved with like research stuff.
Yes,
like,
definitely.
what specific projects
Oh gosh,
are you like working on?
in my free time, I do a bunch of other research to the point that I kind of consider research like a little bit of an extracurricular, which is a bad habit of mine. But I've worked on a couple of different research projects with UCF. So Plant the Moon through SEDS. I did a couple entries for the Space Ideation Challenge through SEDS. I was in the SSEP program last fall with UCF, and that was a really good time. Shout out to the team that won their work onto the ISS. So shout out to them. That's really, really cool. But I was also in that program as well as a student PI. And then, of course, I joined Southeast Analog. Part of the Southeast Analog research team is that we're not like a classical research team. We kind of serve more in operations. I like to say that the research team is called the research team internally because we go to bat for PIs. We're the arm of the PIs in the science team that operates internally, but we really should be called the research operations team because the entire goal is not to create research. Granted, we have a lot of PIs in Southeast Analog that do help and contribute and create research, but to collaborate with those PIs and to kind of help make their magic happen as far as their space research goes, which I think is just so much fun. It's one of my favorite parts of being in C.
Yeah. How do you think like this research can really improve like even life on Earth?
I think it's really cool. I mean, there's a whole branch of medicine about that, right? Like the translational medicine versus occupational medicine. That's the easiest one in terms of terminology because I'm a biomedical sciences student, so that's what I think of. But the solutions that we come up with for extreme environments in space can easily impact Earth, especially kind of as we move with global warming, as we move toward like a more extreme climate. We're coming up with solutions for extreme biology with our work in space that might help us in the future, unfortunately, and can impact and really help other people. For instance, people with disabilities, people with learning differences, that kind of thing. Something that is designed for usage by many people in difficult scenarios when they have maybe less use of their fingers, less use of their hands, name a couple purposes, could easily have a purpose here on Earth, even if it's not for something perhaps as publicly glamorous and accepted as being an astronaut.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, like looking at any sort of aerospace research, because I feel like the more that you look into it, the more you realize that our bodies are designed specifically for the conditions we have on Earth.
Absolutely.
So any deviation from that, it's like kind of like wild to see. Like I was looking at some studies, and it was talking about how the change in gravity can actually influence how neurons fire, just by affecting the way that the fluid shifts and ion conduction, right?
Yeah, we learn a lot about the way our bodies are designed for biology based on space research in general. Granted, Southeast Analog itself isn't an analog for the radiation or the microgravity of space, but it's a good analog for the psychology of space and how we can approach different issues from specifically a spaceflight and aerospace lens in the industry.
Yeah, I think it'll be like really important to see kind of the behavior in these analog environments, especially as we transition, because right now it's very like reliant on space agencies, a lot of the astronauts going up there. But as commercial space flight grows, you're going to have much more like average people going up there rather than really, really healthy people, right? You have like average people going up there. How do you make sure that these people stay healthy and everything?
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I really want to go into aerospace medicine, is I want to help us figure out how we can keep people alive better in space, and how we can improve what living looks like up there in general. But I do think you bring up an interesting point about the transition from public to private, like space consolidation. I think that's very interesting. And weirdly enough, to tie this back to C, one of the things I like best about C is that it can kind of serve as a sandbox for new ideas. And that kind of ties back to like my research connection, right? I really like how with C we're being pushed to think in different ways. So for instance, like do research on what happened in the past, but think, okay, hey, how can I make this a little bit more me? How can I make this my way? Separate from historical precedent and separate from agency precedent. How can we reinvent an idea? How can we like take another look at the wheel and change up what's on the inside to see if it can run better? You can see this a lot in the design teams. So like the EVA suits, they don't look like classical EVA suits. Now, part of that's due to their own personal constraints and their own personal budget constraints, their time constraints as well. But I think it was really cool that design students, specifically Elias, head of the EVA suit team, really got to work with design students on producing a new analog spacesuit design. And I think that is the coolest thing ever, that they got to have that like sandbox moment and deviate it a little bit and say, okay, how would I do it separate from any historical context? What am I going to bring to the table? How am I going to play around in the sandbox? And I think that's really cool.
I really like that you use the word sandbox too, because I feel like a lot of the times that, you know, science makes really, really big discoveries is because there's people who are on the younger end who haven't been like so exposed. So the way that they think about this research and everything might be a little bit different. So they test their theories and it ends up bringing like new discoveries, which is very interesting.
I think the way that we have spaceflight currently, it's, yeah, like you said, it's a lot of space energies, and there's a lot of really rich history there. And so as much as I love space history, and as much as I love getting to look at space history, I also equally like the idea that you can have an analog mission like this, where some of us currently work at NASA, and some of us have really strong NASA connections, but no one here feels really kind of bound by historical precedent or a long-standing history. And thus we have the space to innovate and propose new ideas of doing anything and everything. And I really like that. It serves really well, again, as a sandbox for new ideas, as a way to bring new ideas to the table and kind of like really quickly test and run through a bunch of iterations. What works, what doesn't, how do we change, how can we learn from the future, how can we learn from previous history, and how can we make our own in that?
Yeah, can you give some examples of like the different research that is going on in the analog?
Sure thing. So originally we had accepted about 10 different research proposals, and we're hoping to accept a couple more next year. So if you have a research proposal idea, make sure to send it out when we send our call for proposals. Always be plugging. But eventually, due to PI, we had a couple of funding issues. At the moment, we're working on 4 to 5 different research projects. The biggest two, obviously the flashiest two, are the rover projects. That's ARIS, and what we internally call COTS, but what externally is called the SALT project. The SALT project is our really big international project. It's in collaboration with a Bolivian university, and we're actually currently working on it right now as we speak, back out in MCC. And the idea is a collaboration between a ground team and our team and the astronauts to produce kind of a working system, a way of teleoperating a rover through 3 different systems, and a way to kind of use the salt flats, the Bolivian salt flats, the Salar de Uyuni, as an analog for the moon, which I think is really incredible. The other big project that we have is the ARIS project, and the PI for that is actually Umesh, who's in the habitat right now, and so that's been really fun to see, especially how excited he gets over his projects, and it's been wonderful to be able to work with somebody who's on the ground inside the habitat on his own project. I think that's fantastic.
The fact that he's like one of the analog astronauts, and
Absolutely.
he gets to like, if he has something wrong with it, he can be repairing it, he knows what to do.
Yes, that's been incredible, because it's also meant that the research team has been able to be a lot more hands-off with that one, because it's like, yeah, he lives with it. So what are we going to do? Tell him no? So it's been wonderful to be able to have the research team kind of take more of a step back and be able to just watch him go. It's been fantastic. The other project that we have going right now, you have 2 more projects. One of them is actually a career survey internally. So we're looking kind of, the research team, as well as Elias Pimentel, is looking kind of internally about, hey, how is C impacting our careers? How is this impacting the way we talk to other people about our careers, our confidence in our career? I will say C has given me a lot more confidence, and so it's very nice. I'm interested to see if it's going to be reflected in the results. Our one remaining project is also another one by a PI that we have on our flight control team, that's Soha, and it's the cognitive control project. That's a psychological project as well, and I think that's really cool because it's kind of testing the psychological analog aspect of this project.
Yeah. There's like so many different disciplines. Like even for me,
Absolutely.
like looking at it, I wouldn't never like expect
Yes.
like so many different categories.
I love the variety, and it gives the astronauts something to do too. I know they also really like the variety because it means they get, every day they wake up and they get to do something new.
That's true. So next year, you're going to be the head of research. What are you most excited for in the role?
I'm most excited to meet more cool people doing cool stuff all across the country and internationally as well, if we have any more international projects. That's one of the best things about being in C, is being able to meet so many interesting people. And a lot of them are external as well, being able to collaborate with people out of C and talk to them and help make their magic happen, help make their space research happen. Especially, you'll notice a lot of our PIs are students. These are people who maybe without external grants or without NASA grants may not be able to do space analog research or space adjacent research. And so I think it is really wonderful to be able to make that happen here and now in their undergrad. Or even at one point we had a master's thesis that was interested. Being able, yeah, that was really, really cool. Being able to kind of make that magic happen for them. I'm so excited to get to know the next year's research teams and be able to meet more people across many, many different disciplines doing cool science. I'm not well versed in all types of science, but I love getting to learn about these research projects and really getting to dive deep on what their project looks like so I can be as excited about their project as they are about their project. And I think that's wonderful. I'm always learning something.
It's really interesting because you do have like a lot of people so passionate about what they do, and it really like shows up here in this research project. So it's exciting to see.
I really do. That's one of my favorite parts, is getting to learn about other people's research, about, you know, their baby, the thing that they've worked on for up to maybe months or even like a year of time, and being able to kind of make it ours and be able to work with it and get really passionate and really invested about it. Because I know a lot of people here as well, they get so excited about everyone's research. It's been really wonderful to see how excited everyone involved with C and involved with research gets about other people's research. I really love that. It's kind of creating a community around like your project. So if you were to submit a C project and it got accepted, I can guarantee there would be at least 10 people who would be ready to go to bat for it. And I really like that. I love being able to represent them internally and be able to speak for their interests and work it from there.
Yeah. So moving on to like future plans and everything.
Absolutely.
Like I know that next year you will be the head of what was it called? The Space Council.
Not the head of the Space
Council.
Council.
I mean, not the head, but one of the members.
There's some very, very important people who are head of the Space Council.
One of the members of the Space Council next
Yes.
year. And also vice president of the new UCF chapter for Southeast Analog.
Yes. I was going to say, I'm not head of the Space Council, but
Yeah,
I'll
that was a
accept
slip on my tongue.
Yes, I mean, I'll accept the promotion, but that's a very terrifying promotion to get. There's some wonderful, wonderful people on the Space Council who are far, far more interesting and far smarter than I am. But yes, I'm a student representative for the UCF College of Medicine on the UCF Space Council. So I've been speaking, and I get to represent the College of Medicine students in the interests of UCF Space. And that's really cool. So I'm really excited to get to know more students and be able to speak for those interests at the UCF Space Council level. They do a lot of really cool stuff. They help organize the Space Symposium every year. They work with Space Week. They help put all that together. And so I'm excited to be able to represent the College of Medicine and fight for the College of Medicine students who might be interested in space.
It's really interesting too, as like UCF expands to have aerospace medicine programs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the new aerospace medicine program as well. And I said like fighting for college medicine students, but really I don't have to do much fighting because again, there's an aerospace medicine program that's currently being built at UCF. And so a lot of the people involved with that have a good eye as well for the medicine student who might be interested in space. There's a place in space for most majors at UCF, and medicine students I think are beginning to realize that that applies to them too.
I mean, for me, I didn't even know that that was like a thing until like maybe a year ago.
Yeah, it
I
sure
was
is.
like, wow, aerospace medicine, like that sounds really cool. And to think that we're going to be having that at UCF now,
Yes,
it's going to be
I'm very,
really
very
exciting.
I'm very excited about it. I'm also excited for the new C chapter at
Yes.
UCF that's getting started up. I'd hesitate to call myself vice president because I'm already head of research. I don't know if I need any more titles, really. But I'm very excited to get other UCF students involved. Almost every single
Yeah.
UCF student I've spoken to about C has been interested and wanted to hear more in some capacity. So I'm glad to be able to give them a place for that and like a vector to be able to experience
Yeah.
that without saying, sorry, you just got to do it yourself. I'm really excited to build this community about that.
I mean, seeing like all the people who are already interested in being part of this like CUCF chapter, it's you look at like their LinkedIn, you're like, wow, like these are so many different people from different backgrounds. Like,
Absolutely.
it gets you excited.
I really love. I think I told some of my friends. I said, when I first like came to in-person training, I went, wow, all of these people are exactly as crazy as I am.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to meet more people who are exactly as crazy as I am next year at UCF. I'm excited to get to know them and get to meet them and help them become more involved in C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had like just one more question.
Yeah.
So previously I did hear some questions about what some people might think the UCF chapter would be like, because you know we're a brand new chapter. The first one is just Georgia Tech, and we would be like the second one ever.
Yeah.
And hopefully many, many more to follow after that,
Yes.
right? And we did also have some like question of like, oh, since you're going to be the head of research, then then does that mean that UCF is going to be like the research place or something? Like, how did you feel about that?
I think that's a fair question, actually, and I'm really glad you asked it, Joey. Because I think when you start looking at C as an organization, when you get involved in C and you hear there's going to be a new chapter, it's really easy to assume that UCF is going to be like the Kennedy to Georgia Tech's Johnson, or since Johnson's like human factors, that because of the research, then UCF is going to be like the Johnson to Georgia Tech's Kennedy, who's like running the analog.
Or like the Ames Center or
Exactly.
something.
Like it's really easy to start drawing connections between like C chapters and NASA centers. And while I really like that system, I like that idea of each chapter having a specialty, I don't think that works for a student organization. None of us are getting paid and we can't necessarily move. One of the reasons, like the only reason I was able to even get involved in the research team in the first place is because it was mixed mode, it was interdisciplinary, it was open to students across many, many universities. So I'm excited to say that like the research team is also going to be across many different universities, and I'm really excited to meet people from all these different universities and help them get involved in C. Granted, I would really love to be able to host in-person meetings at UCF, so if nothing else, people who are stopping by can have a place to like meet everybody and say hi and I don't know, maybe have drinks or snacks or something like that. But that doesn't mean that the research team will be entirely based at the UCF, because again, we want to show the love to the rest of our Florida universities as well because of that proximity. So I can say confidently that the UCF chapter is not going to be like the research chapter or anything. You can join any team from the UCF chapter. It just so happens that I live at UCF, and therefore if I'm going to have an in-person meetings, it'll probably be at UCF. But that doesn't mean we're ever going to cut off the virtual aspect. That doesn't mean the research team will ever be anything less than interdisciplinary and cross-university.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see, honestly. And I think we're definitely going to be having a lot of research meetings for whoever's in the area. I mean, if you're like from FIT, if you're from like UF and you want to come for the UCF meetings, you know.
Yeah, I remember being kind of like sad when I saw that Georgia Tech was doing all these socials and cool events and I couldn't go. I was so far away. I was 12 hours away. So that's something I'm excited about, is if UCF does a social, then people who are close by and involved in C might actually be able to visit and to build a little bit more of the community around C. Obviously right now we're experiencing a lot of community because we're all in one room, we're all hanging out together and we're all being able to see each other 24/7 basically. And I want to keep that community going while we're away. And I think socials and having Florida schools with proximity to a UCF chapter is a really good way to keep that going.
I mean, it was a shock when I came here and I was like, there's 3 other UCF students in Atlanta who flew out for this, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. We need a place, again, we need a place for crazy people to get together and have fun and say hi.
Exactly.
Yeah. We need a way for UCF students to know that other UCF students are getting involved without having to see each other at in-person training after maybe a 3-hour flight. Yeah. Any other questions, Joey?
That was all the questions I had for today, but
fantastic. Well, I have a question for you, Joey.
Oh, okay.
Are you having a wonderful time here in MCC? How are you liking the MCC experience?
I'm having an amazing time over in MCC. I mean, like, I was medical psychological trainer, and I came in for just like, you know, flight control weekend just to train them on like, you know, first aid, how to take heart rate, how to take blood pressure, all of these different things. And then next thing you know, I said, after that, I was just like, oh no, like I kind of feel bad. Like that's it. Like I'm done. Like I'm never gonna do this again, because like you said, like being in a room just full of like insanely passionate people. It's such a good feeling. So coming here every single day and being surrounded by all of these other people who take a leap and fly to a different state to go and work on something like that's they think is contributing like more than themselves. It's like such a good feeling.
Yeah, and I'm excited to be able to have a chapter for that and a chapter to support flight controllers who are coming in, because Lord knows none of this is cheap. And so I'd love to be able to support flight controllers coming in from UCF or even other states, be able to help support them funding-wise.
Yeah, hopefully we can do like fundraisers, get some
Absolutely.
funds from, hopefully even our university can help send some of our people here. That would be really, really great for
That was
everybody.
another reason why I really wanted to get a UCF chapter started, was to be able to provide some funding support for students, because C is designed to be able to provide space experiences and analog space experiences to undergrads and graduate students and students who otherwise might have a difficult time or are in their early careers and need a way to break into the industry. And so I think that should also be extended to low-cost students as well, or low-funding students. I think without doing that, it just becomes a rich kid club. So I'm very excited to be able to help and be able to monetarily support students as well and send them up to the mission like this, because I think a lot of more people should experience an environment like this. I think it's very cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having this interview with me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, Joey. This has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I will see you back at Mission Control.
Yes, I will see you back at Mission Control. I'll see you back at Mission Control. Have a good one. Thank you.
You too. Alrighty, so on the table here, I actually have this mission patch. You probably recognize it from any of the live streams, on any of the media that we're putting out, and even on the website, right? So this is the Thalassa official mission patch. It was actually designed by our crew scientist, Hailey Nelson. And there's like different aspects that you can see in this, and I'm sure you can like see it on the live stream, a blown up like image probably near my head. But Thalassa, right? So what Thalassa is the name Thalassa specifically, is you see a lot of these space missions are usually named after like Greek gods, Greek goddesses, right? You have the Apollo missions that started like going to the moon, and then now you have the Artemis missions. So ours is Thalassa. So Thalassa is actually the Greek goddess of the sea, specifically more like the calm waters. You can kind of picture Poseidon is really that chaos, but then Thalassa is that calm. And you know, that's like our astronauts. You know, we send them to be in this confined space for 10 days conducting all of these experiments. You need that calm atmosphere to be able to function together well as a team. You can also see different things on this patch, like up here. This is the Ursa Major constellation. So if you know the Big Dipper is part of the Ursa Major constellation. Ursa Major is the Latin word for Great Bear. So yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think about anything else. And you can see here, you have all the crew's names here. And it's a really, really nice patch designed by Hailey. Alrighty. So next up, we're going to be showing some footage that was uplinked over to us. So Wendy, would you like to come in? So we are going to be looking at some footage and commentary, give you some commentary on those interview questions. That will be now. We can start with the first video for the questions that's uplink on there.
So the first questions we are planning on answering, we're going to combine a couple, were one, what's the hardest thing about training, and two, the most different thing between training and our mission. So first, a quick overview of some of the training we did in preparation for the mission. We did a lot of different activities, both virtually online and also getting together in person to do some training together. And so we got a ton of different really cool experiences. We did some scuba dive training, some extreme environment training where we did an overnight hike on the Appalachian Trail. We did some different CPR and other medical training. Flight training, we all got the opportunity to fly flight simulators as well as actual planes, which was really cool. Different sims where we were practicing communication with our awesome mission controllers based in our mission control center at Georgia Tech, as well as some physical training, like exercise plans to prepare for the mission. And so I thought all of this training was really cool. A lot of it was things that I got to experience that I never had the opportunity to do before. And so I think we can all agree that a lot of it was really fun, but it was also really hard. A lot of it was pushed a lot of limits that I had, and I think a lot of us had, where we were really sort of pushed out of our comfort zone and had to do things that we didn't really know we were capable of doing. And so I think we all agree that it sort of gave us a lot of self-confidence that we were able to do things that we didn't really think we would be able to do going into it, which was really cool to experience.
Yeah, and then as far as some differences between our training and then actually here in the simulated mission, I think one of the hardest parts for us is that during our simulations, the thing that is most closely related is the communication using voice loops, talking with MCC. But the problem is during our simulation or our training simulations, we aren't actually executing any of the other things that we have to do here in our day, such as exercise and preparing meals and any of the science experiments. Now we're having to balance all of the communication with our real life activities, which is a lot. And so I think that is one of the biggest differences in our trainings versus the real simulation here. Additionally, I think one thing that has also been hard for us and just different is the fact that during all of our trainings, we were usually not alone. So we usually had someone guiding us, or we would do things with mission control. So there was always a lot more people involved in our training. And now we are underground and isolated, and there's just 6 of us. So I think that's another big difference from our training to the simulation.
It's really interesting hearing their different perspectives, like on their training and everything that went into this mission.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think removing the hard part of the training seems like a really interesting and very fun training. I mean, think about they did scuba diving training, they did flying, they
Yeah,
also
the
did
hiking.
some intense hiking. It was like a 15-mile hiking with a big backpack. Yeah, just everything. I feel like the whole training, like Nia, the head of astronauts, she was just talking about the whole training process and why she chose to do the training the way she did. They were trying to learn how the astronauts work together, how each of them will take command, because that was it was like partly a selection weekend, but also training for the astronauts. And I think the whole, all these trainings, I think it helped them, build some endurance, some physical endurance,
Yeah.
or also being able to navigate being in a very high stress environment, how you still be able to work in a team. And also, I think also situational awareness. I mean, think about scuba diving. You don't know what you're doing. You're just
Yeah.
moving through water. Think about the hiking, hiking in the woods at night. And also even think about flying and also the simulators. I think it's just teaching them how to coordinate themselves
Yeah.
and how to be very, situational awareness, and just how they're able to work as a team in very high pressure environments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have like all of this selection criteria and everything, but being able to see like, okay, so this is what they know, and then now they have like room to grow, right?
Yes, for
And
sure.
being able to see what type of trainings you can add in to help them
Yeah.
already. I mean, these are already very qualified individuals, but adding these trainings make them really well suited for this mission.
Yeah, and again, I think I also said yesterday on yesterday's talk show that I think this hard training and working in a very high stress environment helped the astronauts build their communication strategies, or even their bond. I mean, you get
Yeah.
to bond with someone so well just because you went through really, really hard times together.
Right.
And I think I don't know. I'm very curious on what's gonna happen next year to see the next.
It's really exciting
yeah.
to see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the astronaut training was really intense, and because I think according to also NASA standards, they also do this kind of trainings. So we're trying to simulate the actual real NASA training programs as possible.
Yeah, I remember even part of like when I was training them on the medical side,
Yeah.
and I was like teaching them how to find a pulse from the carotid arteries,
Yeah.
and it was funny because I told them, okay, well now I'm gonna force you all to go take each other's pulses, and they were all like put in each other's like they were like trying to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I could tell like when they were doing it, they were just laughing, they were having a good time, and.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like everybody was like working hard together. I even saw them like, I taught them in the front like, okay, this is how you do it. But then when everybody was trying and some of them were having a hard time, the other ones were like, oh yeah, no, move your finger more like that or something like that. And you kind of see this type of team building and
yeah.
bonds building with this.
Yeah, for sure. I think the training was a really good aspect of, being a very good aspect of their bonding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and let's move on to the next clip.
The next thing that we want to address is what the most difficult part of the mission is, and also what it's like communicating with a time delay. So on a Mars mission, it takes 20 minutes for a message to get from Earth to Mars, and then another 20 minutes for a return message to get from Mars to Earth. So anytime, if you're on a Mars mission, if you have a very simple question, it will take 40 minutes to get an answer. So one thing that's really difficult is when you are in a simulated Mars mission, we are simulating that time delay with mission control. So we won't hear from them from another 40 minutes after we ask any given question. And so one thing that was really difficult to adjust to is how do you ask very clear, very in-depth questions to mission control in a way that they will understand, and they're not going to have all of these follow-up questions, and it's going to be very, very clear what it is that you're asking. And also, how can we, in the meantime, in those 40 minutes, try to troubleshoot ourselves and figure out what we need to do next without having to rely every single thing on mission control.
Yeah, as Sophie said, so as an engineer, we have to solve these simulated emergencies or real emergencies on the spot. Sometimes if it's a life support problem, if it's something that happened to our EVA suits, we need to be ready to fix it. Having to deal with these comm delays with a 40-minute wait for a reply, that means we have to use our own knowledge and anything that we have, any procedures, any documents, we'll use those information to make those fixes ourselves, and we can't wait 40 minutes to hear back from MCC. So if we have a life support issue, we can't afford to wait 40 minutes to fix our life support, as that is a danger to crew safety. So we need to be ready to make these quick time decisions and immediately start getting to work and fixing these issues. But at the same time, we can't leave MCC in the blank that we're dealing with these problems in the first place. So while we're solving these problems, we have to also inform MCC that we're having this issue, we're approaching it in this regard, this is how we're planning on solving it, and this is what we're going to do. And once we relay that information and we're working on it, we have to constantly give MCC constant updates. And then if we have a correct solution, then we say, we fixed it, MCC, we have successfully fixed the problem. And so it's this constant communication, it pretty much becomes a one-sided communication, but we have to make sure that everything's going in case we do something wrong, or in case something does happen, or there's another procedure that they want us to try out, we still need to make sure MCC has a response to us. So it's all this quick thinking, it's this quick, like just doing stuff as fast as you can, but carefully, and solving all these problems that makes this comm delay difficult to work with, but also working on a Mars mission.
Medical issues also pose a unique challenge in this kind of environment because we have very limited resources. We have written protocols and trained extensively the 6 months prior to this mission for any type of medical emergency, but really our main point that we want to get across is prevention. So we all are trying our best to monitor our health. We're doing daily med checks, and we're also making sure we're taking our daily vitamins and hopefully preventing any possible issues that could arise. And Then we send those reports back every day to the flight surgeons back down at Mission Control, and they review our information and just make sure that we're on track, and hopefully give us any suggestions to stay.
Interesting, like, to hear about like the communication delay and everything, because as they said, 20 minutes, you send a message 20 minutes, then 20 more minutes you're going to be receiving a message back. So you have to wait about like 40 minutes if you're like troubleshooting.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Communication delay, it changes the whole dynamic. If you want, there's not like that back and forth clear conversation. If you want to ask a question or follow up on something, you have to be very clear. You have to make sure whatever you're asking, you're giving out all the details and more details and clear details as possible, because that's like at least 20 minutes before they get the message, and then the mission control gets the message, and 20 minutes before mission control gets your question, gets you a solution, and answers you back. So I think it's been a very steep learning thing for both the crew, the flight controllers, just to be able to learn how to communicate clearly in these time restrictions, because you have to make sure whatever you say, it's clear, it's someone can understand what you're saying first of all.
Yeah.
And you want to expect whatever you communicate, that's, you don't have like a follow-up question to that because of that. Especially in an emergency. Imagine you have an emergency, the crew communicates, oh, this and this is happening. They also have the other thing about this is they also have to know how to work autonomously. Like they have to know how to solve issues on their own, because they know, oh, we have a 20-minute delay.
Yeah. It's like, also, I think, so like what you said, it's like they really need to be communicating clearly to each other and all of this different things. It's so important.
Yeah.
Or else, you're not gonna, sometimes if you say, you don't give enough information, mission control's like, okay, I need clarification. And then you have to wait another 20 minutes, another 20 minutes. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, you don't want to resolve it after like 3 hours, right? So making sure that you give all of the details and very clear like that. But it also raises the question of like what happens in emergency, like what they said over there. And it's very interesting because there's going to be delays. There's going to be, okay, we told mission control what's going to happen. Now we're going to wait 40 minutes for a response, but we still got to figure out what to do in that time. So it also kind of adds to that pressure in the environment.
I think that's the whole reason, that's the whole other reason why we have very diverse crew, a very diverse crew, because each and every one of them have different sets of skills. So you need, in a very, with putting in mind all these delays and everything in a state of emergency, you need people with different skills to be able to communicate with each other and work together to solve a problem without relying fully on the mission control center.
You can imagine, I mean, like in real emergencies, like say this was a real space mission and you will have that delay of about like 20 minutes. What would the crew be doing? So I think this is like really, really good for training and
for sure.
Simulating what would actually happen in real life.
I think that's why we have the analog space missions. I mean, you can't have people training for a long-term mission on Mars while on Mars. So we have these analog simulated space missions just to be able to study and research and learn how humans work in a very confined space, in a confined space, in whatever duration you want to put them in there, and also learn on how they communicate with each other in very high stress environments in a very confined space, and learn how the mental health side of it, how they communicate with each other during an emergency. How do they communicate with each other when they can't have help from the outside world?
So let's move on to the next interview question.
So
So the next question is, what is the least expected part of being on the mission? And I think for myself, but also for everyone else, it has really been how nerve-wracking it is to have someone out on EVA and how nervous you feel about your crew's safety, because there is a period during that time where we have no communication with whoever is on EVA. And we all know that, of course, whoever is on EVA is safe because we are simulating this mission, but it is surprisingly really scary for those couple of moments where you don't have any contact. And I'm always really worried, and we're like pacing in the kitchen watching and waiting for cameras to come back on and to get communications. And last night on Sol 5, we had an EVA during which we lost all camera feeds and also communications with ground control. And so we ended up calling the EVA pretty early just for ensuring that the crew members that were on EVA were safe and having them come back just so that we made sure nothing would happen during that time.
Another thing that was unexpected for us was, so in our training, we have all of these simulated systems within our habitat, things like life support systems and all of these telemetry values that we're tracking and being aware of. And when something goes wrong with one of these simulated systems, we have all these procedures written out on how we should approach fixing them. Again, it's all simulated, but in order to act like it's an actual space mission, you could have issues with maybe your oxygen generation system or your carbon dioxide scrubbers and things like that. And so we're practicing as part of this mission, how do we approach if we were to have problems like that, including some of them are in the middle of the night or something like that. But one of the unexpected things that we didn't necessarily train for is we also have been having a lot of challenges with some of our actual systems that we weren't necessarily expecting to have, but we still do need to troubleshoot in this simulated comm delay with MCC environment. So for example, one of these things has been, we've had some spotty communications that we weren't necessarily expecting or planning on, or things like cameras. And so we've had to be able to troubleshoot some of these issues in this environment. Another thing is we had some challenges with our EVA suits, and so we needed to look at the damage that we were trying to fix, tell MCC, send them pictures, get procedures back, and then work on these procedures and fix it using the limited resources that we have here in order to fix these actual problems that we're having with actual hardware that we weren't necessarily expecting.
Yeah, similar, like building up on that, like actual problems happen all the time throughout this entire mission. So it's not only just like the EVA suits, sometimes the research projects also start not working sometimes. And that's when you have to like figure out how do you safely perform the research project, but also make sure that you could, like, you have to make sure that it isn't damaged, but also collect the data that you need. So last night during our EVA, when we had our comms issue and our camera problem, the rover couldn't connect to any of the networks. So because of that, when we were trying to run the code remotely from the habitat to the rover, nothing was sent. There was no communication between the rover and the computer, and we couldn't just leave the rover outside, come back inside, fix the issue, go back inside. That is a huge safety risk for the rover and for the astronauts who have to come back up and down constantly. And these issues constantly happen with like EVA suits where since our ventilation system works and we have to pump air constantly because of the like how sealed it is in the helmet, if we have an issue with our battery and the battery just shuts off randomly, that is a huge crew safety risk. And this is something that we previously during our training discussed, but during the suit, we noticed some odd stuff that happened with the battery. So during one of the sols, we had to make sure on that one of the sols, we did not do an EVA. And it was just pure battery testing on the EVA suits, just making sure that can the batteries last the designated EVA slot? Can they last as long as they need to? Because this is a real crew safety issue that we need to address, and it's something that we don't really expect because during training and sims, we feel that, oh, these definitely work. We've tried these before. But when you're actually on the mission, there's so many different factors that could happen that could change what, like some unexpected things could happen that you don't expect. So you have to be ready at a moment's notice just to be like, oh, this is happening, so maybe we have to pause our EVA today. We have to do something else to diagnose the problem and fix the problem.
I think building off of that really quickly also, it is a lot for us to try and figure out, at a moment's notice, what's the best next course of action, how do we try and fix the actual problem that we're experiencing. But I think it also, talking about mission control, is also a lot for them because, for example, we've written a ton of procedures on how to do different tasks before the mission, but now mid-mission, we're writing them, being like, hey, this happened, we need a procedure on how to fix it, or hey, now this happened, we need time in the next day's schedule to be added in so that we can work on this problem. And so these are changes that are constantly happening and constant updates that they need to be making on the ground so that they can send us the information we need so that we can fix it.
Yeah, the procedures also do need to be updated at times as well. Like sometimes there's stuff that happens on the projects where the procedure in itself doesn't work in the scenario we're dealing with, so the procedure in itself needs to be modified. So we need to relay that information back to MCC and then it comes back. So it's just a lot of things that we don't expect, but we've definitely trained for and we're ready to handle.
Yes, so with all of this, there's so many challenges that you come across, and I think that's why we have to prepare the analog astronauts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, regarding everything, we have so many procedures in case this goes wrong, this goes wrong, this goes wrong. But even with all of that, sometimes you just have unexpected things happen, like what they said with the camera and everything. And then they had to problem solve to try to fix that.
I mean, we went through like a couple trainings before this mission launched, and I don't think you can be fully prepared for anything, even though we had like a very extensive amount of training. But it is great to see how the astronauts are very adaptable and they are able to solve the issue. Again, I'm going back to my point. That's why we have a very diverse crew. We make sure that everyone has like a set of skills that's going to help whenever we have any mission troubles or whenever we have any emergencies. And I think also the kind of training that they went through makes them be adaptable and be able to quickly think on their feet and be able to solve problems and issues whenever they arise.
Yeah, and I think that definitely goes both ways as well, because sometimes here at Mission Control, there's also some things that we're like, oh my gosh, you know, what do we do about this? Like they said, like, you know, there's
think about this,
So sometimes the crew has some problems on the ground, and then over here, we're just like, we have to also troubleshoot ourselves. We're like, oh my gosh, how do we approach these problems?
I think, this first mission for Southeast Analog is a very, very, very good learning opportunity for all of us on this mission. For both the crew and people on the flight control, it kind of prepares us for the next mission. Next time we'll be more prepared, and we also know what to expect, because this is a first time thing for most of us on the crew. I mean, Nia today, she was talking about she had gone through a similar mission before in Poland, and also Vic, our president, went through the same thing. But for the most part, a lot of people on this mission, we are doing this for the first time. Some people had never even heard about an analog mission before this whole thing happened started last year. So it's really amazing seeing how much we are growing and learning from this experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you brought up like people that at least we can have more anticipation of problems that we'll run into. But I think an even more important thing is, how are we able to adapt, and seeing everybody learn how to adapt as everything changes?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the whole goal of this first mission. Just to see how we're gonna adapt, how we're gonna learn from it, and how we're gonna make it better and bigger next time.
Yeah, let's go on to the next clip.
Okay, so our last question is, what do you miss the most about being on Earth? So for me, that is probably like the people and cats that I interact with daily. So my cat Bones, my family, my fiance that I'm used to communicating with relatively regularly, and now we don't get to communicate at all for the 10-day mission.
I would have to agree, it's definitely difficult being away from my family. My daughter's birthday was yesterday, so before the mission, we knew I was going to miss it. So We went out to dinner and we celebrated as a family her birthday. So, you know, it's definitely hard not being there for those big life milestones.
Yeah, I think echoing that is because we don't have any communication with anyone outside of mission control, because we're trying to enforce this 20-minute each way communication delay, means that just in general feeling very out of the loop and missing friends and family and things like that. And also in general just feeling very isolated from everything else that's going on in the world, both in my personal life and overall, because our only communication with anybody outside of this habitat is through a 20-minute each way delayed conversation with our Capcom and mission control. So it's sort of we're not having any real-time conversations or information with anybody during this 10-day mission.
Yeah, I also miss my friends and family. It's really, it's like, it's hard to communicate. Like, you can't really talk to them at all during these 10 days. But also, I think we all can say we miss having some good food. We haven't had fruit in like 5 days. The closest thing to we've had to fruit is go-go squeezes. So we've been like, if we see go-go squeeze on our meal plan, that is a huge win for that day.
Do you want to explain why we don't have fruit and why our food is different?
Yeah, so on a Mars mission, or just going into space, you can't bring a lot of food just because it's like a safety hazard, and it's like if you bring fresh fruit or something, there could be mold on it, there could be other stuff on it that can like rot. So it becomes dangerous for like us as astronauts on it if we see like rotting stuff around, and that could like be health risk for us, but it's also planetary contamination risks as well, where we don't want to contaminate Mars and the environment around us. So a lot of this, like, we are limited in the food that we can eat and the food that we could eat, and so instead we have to and most of the food that we eat is something like rehydrated food essentially, where we have to like boil some water, pour it in, and have it. So some of the stuff we've been eating are beans, like a big bowl of beans, rice, mac and cheese, soup, like all stuff that is pretty easy to make, just with like that you could just pour boiling water in and have. But it is hard to just eat the same thing every single day, and you're gonna miss like the food that you used to eat a lot. So it's like that is something that I do miss.
Yeah, for me, again, echoing what everyone else has said, I really do miss my family and my friends, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone again. But another thing that maybe I didn't really anticipate so much is just autonomy. And you don't realize how much of a privilege it is and how hard it is to be without things like choosing what you want to eat, choosing when you want to eat, choosing what day you get to shower. All of these things, your schedule is very much regimented, and it's given to you, and they're not things that you get to choose. And that is something that is a very difficult adjustment, and I think is something that I really do miss.
Yeah, I mean, I think all my crew members really summed it up, and just kind of going off of Sophie's point, I think it's really hard to train for this mission, have the dates for this mission, know that you're gonna do it, but then living your normal life up until the mission, and then one day you're underground and you're in isolation and everything's decided for you. I mean, it's a big transition, and so I think just missing the regularity that I've had on Earth for the past 23 years, it is a really big change to just have that, and then all of a sudden, all of it be completely different.
Yeah, so those astronauts, like, there's so many different things I think we take for granted in our day-to-day
sure.
that, you know, when you're up there, you know, you can't, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, like the way Sophie just said, the autonomy, like right now they work on a schedule, which can be a little bit flexible, but they mostly work on a schedule. You're told when to eat, when to wake up, when to sleep, when to exercise, how much you exercise, how much you're gonna eat, what you have to do this interview at this time, you have to do your science right now, you have to do your EVA. So when you think about your day-to-day life, I mean, you have a choice on if you want to do these things or not. But if you're an astronaut,
yeah.
you're working on a schedule, and I think that's one of the most interesting things that I had not thought of. Like, I had thought of,
Yeah.
obviously they're gonna miss their families, their pets, their kids. So it's really, I had not thought about the, how much, how much they're on a schedule that you miss your own autonomy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because like those astronauts, they get sent up there to space and then they have jobs to do and stuff.
Yeah.
you know,
not
at
just
the end
come
of the
to
day,
space, yeah.
it's really, really cool. But you have to. But since everybody is like monitoring them, they don't get to just like do whatever they want sometimes,
yeah.
and it's. I can see how like that can really like impact over time.
For
It's
sure.
like, oh my gosh, I can't do whatever I want to do right now.
Yeah, you have a planned nutrition schedule. Even the type of food that you eat, you're eating freeze-dried food.
Yes.
You can just, oh my God, I miss that food. I miss, fresh mac and cheese or something like that. I mean, think about also their privacy and personal space because they're on
Yes.
live stream. You can watch our live streams, by the way, and just see the astronauts out there working and all. So you can just, I mean, it's a 10-day mission. This is a job at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
they are doing an amazing job of,
They are.
making sure that we get to take a next step in space exploration. But then again, you can also see the human side of things, like, hey, they're gonna miss their family, of course. This is 10 days without talking to
Yeah.
your family. You're gonna miss your pets, you're gonna miss your life, your regular life. Still a cool job, still one of the
Yes.
coolest jobs that a lot of people really want to do. But being able to do whatever you want to do outside there, sleep wherever time. But then again, they're doing an amazing job.
Yes.
So yeah.
And then everything that they have to do too, all of these things on a schedule, it's like really optimized for them. Like everything has a good reason, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like when you go up into space, you're so much more likely that for your muscles to waste. So every single day we're having them do these exercise regimens. And then the types of foods that they get to eat, it's not because like, oh, we don't want to feed them well or anything.
no.
No, it's because like there's only so much that you can bring up there to space that, how do you make sure that they are still happy with what they're eating and feel supported the whole way. And I think that's a really big thing for mission control too, is when you're planning these space missions, making sure that you're doing it in a way that supports the crew and the crew feels happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you think about it, for most space missions, it's just not about the tech, especially the human space flights. It's not just about the technical side of it, but you also have to put in mind, you have the human psychology, the human physiology side of it. You have to make sure you are making sure these astronauts come back home well and healthy, and not just taking them there and just kind of leave them there and kind of fend for themselves. Now we have to make sure they're going to have a successful mission is having them back good and healthy.
Right. Yeah. Well, this has been like really interesting. All of the questions that we get back here, we love seeing the crew doing well.
Yeah, we love seeing also, them talking about the experience as they're experiencing it. I think that's why I like the live stream and the interview questions that we send them every day. Like, we now get to you get to talk about your experience as you're going through it, but we don't have to wait till the end of the mission to actually know what happened, or how did you feel at this time? How did you feel on day 2? No, we get like every day we get feedback from them, get to know how they're doing, and I think so far the mission has been successful.
I think so too. Yeah. And with everything, right, we see their schedules, we see like what they're doing on a day-to-day. You can even see them like in this live stream in the hab, but being able to hear what they personally experience, it's definitely different.
Yeah, for sure. I think we are doing well as Southeast Analog, and just by making sure also our astronauts are doing well. And it's so nice to hear that everyone, even the flight controllers, everyone in MCC is doing well, and everyone's just getting used to this life. We could do it couple more days. I don't know about you, Joey. Can you do this a couple more days?
I think I can do it a couple.
I think maybe the crew might have a different
The crew,
opinion to that.
probably not.
Yeah, yeah, you'll probably have to like, prepare for them, mentally before that. Imagine at the end of it, I was like, yeah, psych, guys, you gotta do a couple more days. I don't think that.
I mean, it's happened before, like International Space Station, where the astronauts were stranded up there for a few more months. You remember that?
I remember that. I really cannot imagine what she went through, but yeah.
Yeah, so that has been the end of that portion. So now, before we end off, we would like to answer any questions that you guys have now. We have a few questions in the chat, but if you have any more future questions, feel free to leave them down in the chat and we'll be more than happy to answer any of them.
Yeah.
All right, so first question, we got it from Ecom actually.
Okay.
So the question is, which console would the PAO team members most like to be on other than PAO? That's such a good question.
Let me see. Maybe Ecom, because they have the all telemetry.
Yeah.
But maybe probably not GC. GC is just no. I can't do GC. This is a lot of logistics that goes behind it.
It's a lot. You have to do a lot of like technical work and stuff.
Yeah.
We have so much appreciation for you, Jacob.
Yeah, for sure. That is not something I will be able to do. Maybe Ops Plan.
Ops Plan. Oh, yeah.
Maybe Ops Plan, actually.
Yeah.
But they
so
also
if you guys don't know, Ops Plan is the one that is scheduling everybody. So they're helping out with the schedule of the crew, but also the schedule over at MCC.
Yeah, the whole schedule, making sure we are all staffed, making sure we have everything, schedule the interviews, even the EVAs and making sure that everything is going according to plan.
Right.
And everything is scheduled as they are supposed to be. Yeah.
For me personally, I really like PAO. I just really like
I like PAO too. It's
and it was kind of a surprise
jobs.
because like our head of MCC, Alan, asked me like, hey, we need some more people for PAO. Can you help? And I just really like being a PAO,
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun. It's one of the chillest jobs.
It is chill.
It's one of the chillest consoles.
I think we even have a question later that kind of answers that. But other than that, other console that I would be interested in, this is difficult. I think Ops Plan was a really good one. I like that. And then personally, I think this would be a little more like challenging, but I think this one would be a lot of fun, would be Capcom, a capsule communicator talking to the crew.
Oh, yeah. You're like the one who receives all the messages from the crew and
and relay them out to the rest of MCC.
Yeah. That's a cool job, actually.
So the next question we have is, which console has the most fun and why?
PAO.
PAO. I can't say anything else.
We might be biased, but for sure, I feel like we're having fun.
Yeah. We like to update the public. We're the ones like making all the Instagram posts, LinkedIn posts, all of these things to make sure that everybody hopefully is as up to date as we can be, you know.
I mean, we might be a little biased, but I think for sure PAO for the win. I think we have the chillest jobs again. I'll say that.
Yes, we come in, we see like what's been going on. Sometimes it's like we come after the talk show and it's a lot of post-production, making sure that everything's good. And then also there's just a lot of creative work. You know, you get to work on whatever you feel like
for sure.
can work on.
PAO for the win.
Hey!
Let's go.
Third question is that the PAO mascot on the table?
Yes.
Yes, one of the PAO mascots, because we have another mascot is this capybara. What is his name?
Do you
remember? It was a Gabriel?
There's been a couple names.
Yeah. But you've seen him yesterday on the live stream.
Yeah. Yeah, and we are the ones who started this whole mascot thing. So,
hey.
Again, PAO for the win.
This is a red blood cell. So, has a little oxygen, if you see there, and a little hat. If you ever watch Cells at Work, because you know I'm a pre-med, and then I saw this in a bookstore when I was going around here in Atlanta. I was like, I need that.
Yeah, it matches your personality, so I like
Really?
it. Yeah.
Thank you. I also had like a little like Rocky like shoulder plush. I didn't bring it with me, and I
Bring
said
it
I
tomorrow.
need.
Yeah, bring it
No,
tomorrow.
it's in Orlando.
No.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? Next
Next
time I
mission.
know. Next time I know. 1 year
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We got a question from the Southeast Analog account. I don't know why somebody's logged in there asking us questions from there. But how did a variety of student backgrounds such as major schools experience aid in the creation of a multidisciplinary mission? Ooh, I really like this question. Yeah, so as we kind of talked, I brought it up multiple times earlier in the live stream, is that we have so many different backgrounds. There are people who are engineering, we have astrobiology, we have physics. I'm a pre-med student,
Health science,
health science.
Yeah.
And then what's your major?
aerospace engineering.
Yeah, so like so many different like backgrounds, right? And I feel like everybody, like earlier when he was saying how everybody has diverse backgrounds and it all contributes well to the crew, and I think we can say the same thing about mission control here.
Yeah.
Is that so many different backgrounds give so many different perspectives that other people wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, for sure. When you think about the space industry as a whole, also it's a very interdisciplinary industry. So we have to emulate that by having people from different backgrounds who can do different things and have different skills, and we all put our all skills together and come up with something as great as this. When you think about an organization like this, you have to think about who's going to train the astronauts, who's going to lead the team, who's going to do all the communications, who's going to do the logistics, who's going to handle the money. I mean, you got to think about all these things.
There's a lot.
So we really need people from all backgrounds to make this mission and organization successful.
Yes, I mean, we even have like flight surgeons managing the health. We have the ground control. They're managing like the technological side, like why we can host these interviews like this.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's just so many different aspects. It's like, wow, you know, and coming together, everybody has their own jobs. We have so many different consoles, all contributing different things to really make this mission what it is. It's like anything you can think of. There's so many different things here.
Yeah, for sure. Like even PAO, I mean, someone could be a communications major, but you can work in the space industry. We need to teach people about why we are doing all
graphic
this.
design too. Like
Exactly. There's a bunch of things. Think about it. This definitely in the space industry.
Yeah, I think with that question too, it said like major schools experience, right? And having people from different schools as well. It's definitely interesting getting like their perspectives because you have people who live in different places, right? So personally with me, I'm from the Space Coast. So, you know, I see rocket launches like all the time. It's just like, I'm just so used to it. But like talking to other people who are like not so familiar with that or people. But like it's interesting too because talking to other people you start to see, oh wait, so NASA does this here, but NASA does this thing in the place that you live over there and stuff like that. And then sometimes, you know, growing up, they always wanted to do like this or like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we say, we need people from different, with different experiences. I mean, from different schools too. I don't think, this is like a first ever student-led organization here in America. So I think as the pioneers of this, being able to find people from different schools who are able to come together and make this mission successful is a very, very great way to show like the future of space exploration and just to see how everyone's so excited. I mean, you could be coming from wherever you're coming from.
Especially the passions that everybody brings to the table.
For sure. I don't think there's anyone who's here and they feel forced to do this.
No.
Everyone is driven in a different way and everyone wants to do this wholeheartedly.
And we have one last question from the audience before we cut it for today.
Okay.
And let's see. Oh, that was the last question. My bad.
That's all right. Okay.
Yes, but we do have a comment. It says, I can't imagine the total change from freedom to isolation. I wonder if they're planning their first meal. I wonder if they are planning their first meal when they are done with the mission.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
I am
absolutely.
sure. We might ask them that next time, like, hey, what's the...
Yeah, like, what's the first thing you're going to eat?
Yeah, because imagine 10 days of something, you know,
Yes.
probably eating the same thing over and over again.
I mean, if it was me, I'm going to ask for like a good old steak or something, you know.
Oh, yeah, me too, I think. Steak is one of my favorite. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, you wanna wrap up for today?
Yeah. So thank you all for all of your questions. And as always, tomorrow, if you have any questions, make sure to put them in the chat so that we can answer any of the questions that you have. We thank you for tuning in to C1 Thalassa this, what is today, Friday?
Yes.
This Friday morning, and we can't wait to share more updates as the mission progresses. Join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. EDT for the next segment of our talk show. See you later, and don't forget to Thalask About It.